Hi, I'm Pascal Saint-Jean, co-founder here at Stan Advisors. And in today's video, I want to talk to you about strategic resilience. Let's dive into the definition to better understand what exactly we're talking about here. So strategic resilience is the practice of thinking forward while leading through present turbulence, adapting to difficult operating circumstances while looking beyond current conditions to keep focused on the horizon. So what does that mean? Well, during these difficult economic times, whether it was 2003, 2008, or today during COVID, most entrepreneurs are really working hard to keep their businesses afloat with the hope of getting back to normal once this all ends. The danger with that is that we sometimes miss the opportunity to look forward, to innovate, to out innovate our competition and to come out even stronger. And that's really what I want to talk about today is the importance of, yes, we need to stay focused, keep our eye on the prize, on how our business operates today, focus on our profit centers, but we also need to be looking forward so that we can come out of this winning against our competition and looking for new opportunities. Now, here at Stan Advisors, we're building the world's most robust scaling system thanks to our 10 T's. And how we help our clients is that we work with companies who want to become outstanding. Now, whether you want to integrate strategic resilience into your company, develop your leadership team, work on strategy, execution, and scale your business, then give us a call. We'd be happy to talk about our Growth Flywheel program. Now, let's dive into today's content. Now, before we talk about how to integrate strategic resilience into your company, I'd like to go through a few case studies. Now, it's always important to look back in time. Today, Lego, Domino's, and Amazon are world-renowned companies. They're some of the largest in their industry, and for some of them, the largest in their industry. But let's go back into 2008 and see their struggles and what they did to adapt and why they're winning today. So back in the day, Lego was really having a tough time. They were mostly focused in the North American market, and basically we're kind of stagnating from a product innovation perspective. So during the 2008 recession, they decided to really step things up because the business was having some hard times. So what they decided to do is we need to expand our geographic reach. So they just started going well beyond North America into Asia, more deeper into Europe and into different parts globally. And they also started creating licensing deals with big brands. Now today we see Lego with Star Wars and other big brands, but that wasn't the case back in 2008. They also significantly increased their marketing activities. So what are the results? Well, the results were that in 2009, they had a 63% increase in sales from the decisions they made back in 2008. And today, if you do any kind of research, you'll see tons of case studies describing how Lego's marketing and innovation and licensing deals turned them into the world's favorite toy today. Now, if we look at Domino's Pizza today is the largest pizza chain globally. But back in 2008, that wasn't the case. They were really struggling. They were falling below top 5 in North America. A lot of people were complaining about the quality of their pizza, and there was a lot of things going wrong. So again, in 2008, during the recession, they said, we got to up our game. Now's the time to try to double down because the economic forces are actually pulling us to make some big choices, and now's the opportunity, right? So what they ended up doing is doing a complete redo of their recipe and of their supply chain, from cheese to their sauce to their dough, everything. They also launched a massive campaign to spread the word on these new changes. They were actually kind of laughing at themselves, saying, this is what we were, this is who we are today. We apologize for kind of the crappy pizza we were serving you before today. And they made kind of a fun campaign out of it, which went viral and was very, very popular. And they also made a commitment to digital transformation and embracing mobile. Now, in today's world, every chain, you could pretty much order a pizza on your mobile phone. But back then, right, Domino's was one of the first to adopt it and make it super simple and create delivery mechanisms and supply chain mechanisms that allowed them to win. So what does that mean? Well, today, they've become the largest chain in the world by far. And if you look at some of their case studies and some of their research, you'll see how Domino's transformed into an e-commerce powerhouse whose product happens to be pizza. Now, we're living in a world now where Amazon is basically, eating the entire world of retail. But back in 2008, they were, again, they were growing, they were great, but they weren't established like they were today. So again, what their strategy was to basically try out and launch a whole bunch of products to just try to see where else could we grow beyond the e-commerce areas that they were already in. So these are three examples of products that they tested and launched between 2006 and 2008 during the recession that today are actually market leaders in each of their segments. Amazon Prime, Amazon Kindle, AWS, their hosting services. Like, I mean, these three services are, I had to dive into the 10Ks, but are massive profit centers and massive revenue stream today for Amazon. They didn't exist just 10 years ago. So what are the results? The result is each of these products have become leaders in their segments. And Amazon's market cap went from 16 billion back in 2008 to 1.6 trillion 10 years later. And they basically, duke it out with Microsoft and Apple for the largest company in the world now. They kind of switch every other month depending on whose stock goes up, but they're at that size and they're going to continue to grow. So I wanted to share some of those things because it's important to look back. Now, of course, we're not Amazon, we're not Domino's, we don't necessarily have the same budget, the same resources, but we could still create strategic resilience by doing really simple stuff that I'm going to talk to you today. Simple strategies. So how do we create strategic initiatives? We got 5 steps here. The first step is you need to continue to focus on your current profit centers. We don't want to, keep our lose the ball or drop the ball on what's actually making us money today. But we need to give ourselves permission to recreate our business, right? So at Stan Advisors here, we say, let's build a business that would put your business out of business. That's how we start all our strategic discussions, because it gives us permission to think outside the boxes, to reimagine what our business could be, and to innovate beyond, the small, safe bets, right? So to be able to innovate beyond the small, safe bets, you need to look and take a bigger picture of your environment. That's why we need to look at the micro environment and the macro environment, and we'll talk about those two. Then we got to start creating a SWOT analysis of our strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats against our analysis of our micro and macro environment. And after that, we built our strategic cascade. So those are the 5 steps we recommend. So let's dive into the first one, which is exploring your micro environment. Now, this is where, you as a business owner and for your team will be the best to execute this, because you need to understand your space. You need to understand the industry. Whereas macro, we're actually going to create another video that will help you build more of a macro picture, because macro tends to be similar for most companies because we're looking at political and economic trends, whereas micro environment is actually your industry. So let's look at some examples of what does this mean: your customers, your suppliers, your resellers, your competitors. So with your team, if you're brainstorming against these things, when you're talking about customers, we're talking about the stability of demand for some of your existing products, right? What are your winners? What are your losers? Sometimes we don't take the time to look at what products or services are winning and which ones are not winning, which ones are high margin, which ones are low margin. Maybe it's time to shuffle things up. Can we innovate in our high winners, right? What's the prospect of sales growth? Again, looking at which product. Relative profitability, like I mentioned, and intensify the intensity of your competition. What products do you currently offer that are potentially high margin where your competitors aren't even playing there? So maybe we double down on that marketing, right? Now, if we talk about suppliers, not everyone has them, but if you have suppliers, what's the value link between you and them, right? How can you reinforce that relationship and potentially make an exclusive partnership or some kind of exclusivity with them to kind of cut off your competitors if both of you are using that same supplier? What's the insurance that you have? What's a plan B in case you are potentially losing that supplier, right? These are the things you need to look at, because these are the things that tend to hurt us coming out of a recession, because not every business is going to make it. So maybe your supplier, if you're building resiliency and your supplier isn't, you need to be aware of that. Same thing for resellers, right? If you're not direct to consumer and you're relying a lot on resellers, how can you help them promote? How can you help them create some merchandising to market? All these types of things, you need to start looking at that speed of distribution, right? Lower all those costs, or create even more robust environments with your resellers so that you come out of this even stronger. And finally, your competitors. where are they in the landscape, right? Where are you competing directly? Where are you winning? Where are you losing? And maybe you can make some general turns and to change things up. So again, brainstorm with your team against these 4 categories and write anything down. Again, every idea right now is good. We're going to sort them out later. Customers, suppliers, resellers, and competitors. Now let's move to the macro environment. This is what I was saying. We're going to create another video to help you better understand the current macro landscape. We want to share our knowledge and our expertise and what we're discovering with all the clients we're working with, so we could bring that information back with you. So what is macro environment for all of us, right? So basically, the macro is the bigger picture: economic factors, demographic forces, technology forces, political forces, social forces, right? So from an economic perspective, where are the interest rates? How accessible is credit if you're going to borrow money to scale? What does inflation look like? For example, this year, just the cost in the construction space because of lack of supply of wood and supply chain issues, the cost of supply has skyrocketed and their availability significantly lowered. So it made some really complex logistics to deal with in the construction space. What are the tax laws looking like now that there's potentially there's new governments coming and things of that nature? Inflation, all of that stuff, right? Demographic forces. Are you in a space where your customers are getting older? Are they younger? Where's the money at, right? Are they getting close to retire so they maybe won't spend as much on your stuff? Or is that where they're going to spend? Do you have a younger customer demographic and they're entering an age where they have more disposable income? So understand, the demographics of the people you're selling to, but also where you are geographically, right? So are you just selling in a specific province or state? Are you selling in across North America, globally? Like a bit like Lego and others, what are you going to do to take a bigger picture to discover some potential opportunities? Now, when it comes to technology, this is so big because what potential technologies come and disrupt you, and what potential technologies should you or could you adopt to help you compete or outcompete? And we'll have a separate video on digital transformation and the importance of that. But this is an area where I have to say that most companies need to really take a hard look to stay ahead of the game. If you're going to get disrupted by a technology that's coming in to the environment, and I know it's easy to say that won't be real until another 3-4 years from now, but I could tell you that technology is moving so quickly, and that in 3 or 4 years from now, it may be even better than you think it is. So you need to be ready today. So never lose sight of the speed of evolution when it comes to technology. Finally, political and social forces. So these are 2 types of brainstorms, the micro and the macro environment, that I don't see enough people doing when they enter strategy. They usually enter strategy with a general brainstorm. What are some of the goals that we have? What could we tweak? How, really small ways of thinking. We need to think much bigger, particularly during these economic downturns, because when we come out of it, we want to be the winners. We want to be the trendsetters. So then you want to dive into your SWOT. So for those of you who've never done a SWOT, it's essentially a brainstorm around your strengths, your weaknesses, which are an internal exploration. What are we good at? What are we not good at? Our opportunities and our threats, right? So basically, out of the micro and macro brainstorm that you've done, what are we good at that is aligned with a trend that we're seeing in our macro or micro brainstorm? Where are we not good, right? What are our weaknesses against some of those things? So if technology is a weakness for us and we're seeing massive disruption in the technology space, that should be a huge red flag that we need to do something about this, right? Same thing with opportunities. We are seeing an opportunity in a new product that we've been, kind of developing, but not taking too seriously. But after a brainstorm and after an analysis of our macro environment, of our space, man, that product could really be the next big winner, right? We go back to Amazon, launching several different products. Today, 3 of those products are generating massive returns for them. Same thing for threats. So continue that brainstorm and segment into these 4 quadrants. And finally, we move into the strategy cascade, where we take everything we've done in our brainstorm around micro, macro environments. We looked at our SWOT and we bring it down into our cascade, where we're not just about setting goals and then running off and executing. We actually want to take our time with our team and answer these 5 questions. What's our aspiration? Where are we going to play? How are we going to win? What capabilities must we have? And what management systems do we need? Now, this by itself is a whole separate video which we're creating for you to learn the strategic cascade. So we'll leave it at there for now. But if we recap the five key areas, 4 of them were brainstorms, which was essentially the micro and macro environment brainstorms, then looking into your SWOT, then diving into your strategy cascade. But I want to go back to the first one, which I talked about, which was essentially taking the time with your team to do this process, right? Again, we're not saying to stop running the day-to-day. We're not saying to stop losing focus on your profit centers. We're just saying make sure that you continue looking forward even during these difficult times. Now, I hope you learned a lot from this video. If you want to learn more, visit our YouTube channel, visit our blog at stanadvisors.com, and feel free to reach out to us anytime to learn more about our Growth Flywheel program. Thank you very much.